Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel has had its first event, known as the XYZ Festival. And let me just say this right out the gate, this event for me, I actually really enjoyed it. Except yesterday on stream, whenever I played against a Phantom Knight player, and that duel lasted an entire hour. That duel was like a third of my stream. But even with that being said, I think majority of people really enjoy this event. For one, it's very rewarding. For two, it gives you a new way to play the game. And also it promoted a lot of creativity from the community. Since this is a format that isn't like the regular Yu-Gi-Oh! That we know, we could of course mix and match and really try to find the most optimal XYZ builds and try out different things whenever you wouldn't really play it on ladder. Like I literally ran into a Time Thief deck. I haven't seen a single one of those throughout all of my playtime on this game, and I have over like 100 hours. Let's not even mention Konami made an entire ban list for this event, which is wild. They never done anything on this level, I don't think, for Duel Links. So they were really trying to go for maximum fun. However, there was some stuff that they got pretty wrong. One, let's just get the elephant out of the room. Self-KO decks. I don't fault anybody for playing like this. Hell, I even did it myself after I got done streaming just to get the rest of the gems. But I would say sometimes people who are just trying out their XYZ decks and they just run into these majority of their matches are going to feel some type of way. It's like, well, I have this XYZ deck for no reason now. I know that Konami probably sees this and they're like, we got to do something about this in the next event. And not just like on a player mentality level where people think it sucks that people are self-KOing just because it's more time efficient for you to just grind that out and KO yourself over and over. I don't know if it's still more time efficient because they did actually buff the points you gained. Still, you guys get the point. But not only is it just bad for those players, it's also really bad for Konami. Because self-KO decks are extremely cheap to make. And I think this is where the problem somewhat lies, is that these self-KO decks are so cheap to make, it's overall just better in a lot of situations for you just to make this self-KO deck than actually playing with the loner deck, which is a whole nother problem I'll get to in just a second, and compete in the event and you go up against people who are playing Drytrons, Numeron, OTK, and stuff like that, and the loner decks just can't compete. The main thing is about this is that Konami doesn't make any money. Because what Konami wants you to do is, if you're an average player, you're a casual, whatever the case may be, you see the XYZ Festival and you know what, I want to make an XYZ deck. So what do? You go onto YouTube, you go onto Google, you go wherever you go to look up, what type of XYZ decks people are using. And then Konami, what they're hoping to happen is cause a chain reaction where you look up a video or you look up a deck that you like, then you spend money or your gems in game to craft this said deck. But technically you're throwing away money just because this event is temporary. It's not here all the time. So at the end of the day, of course, Konami wins again. But with this self-KO method, Konami gets nothing. And also, I think it raises more concerns too, because it's like what happens in other events, like for example, the KC Cup for this game, whatever they're going to call that. Which you guys don't know what that is, and Duel Links to KC Cup is a very, do I even want to say very competitive? A semi-competitive ranking event that usually determines if you go to Worlds or not. And I'm almost positive we're going to get an equivalent of that for Master Duel, whatever that might be. But if we have rewards tied to that cup, like how we have in the XYZ Festival, you guys see where I'm going with this? You could technically wind up boosting players that aren't supposed to be placed as high as they are, just because you want to self-KO and get all the rewards from it. Of course, we don't know what type of KC Cup will be coming to Master Duel and if it will have rewards like this, but you guys can hopefully see what I'm saying. But then at the same time, Konami's in quite a big of a pickle. Because like, do we just ban the self-KO decks outright? Or do we keep it in the game but just make the event a lot more rewarding for winning? I think this right here is probably the biggest issue Konami has to face with events moving forward. And then also to, Konami, if you could add some crafting fragments, SR fragments into the rewards list too, that would be pretty great. But I'm just saying. So here's what I came up with after talking to my chat a little bit. And I think some of the ideas that I read in my chat for the event, plus some of the stuff that I talked about, would make this event quite a bit better. Of course, I know everybody's made this video at this point, and they probably all threw out suggestions there, but let me just tell you what I think. For one, making it more rewarding when winning is a huge plus, or possibly giving us a win streak bonus, where if you're winning multiple times in a row, you're going to accumulate more points than if you were just winning a game, winning a game, losing. I think that we have to touch on the topic of the loner decks. The loner decks are completely atrocious against any other self-made deck. Like for example, if you're playing Galaxy Eyes deck, I'm playing a pure Zodiac deck that I have built. I got to pick every single card that I want in there. The likelihood of you actually winning that game, I want to say, is quite low. And I think that if you are going to be picking the loner decks, then you should probably be able to be placed with other people who are using the loner decks. Because right now, from what I can tell, the matchmaking is skill-based. Because I've only played against people who are in Plat, which is currently the rank that I'm in. Of course, this could be just because everybody's in Plat now, but I find it weird that out of my 3 hours of playing, I only run into Plat players and nothing else. And I don't think any of them were using a loner deck. Because I'm pretty sure what most people do, they look at the loner decks and be like, well, these are trash. Self-KO time, baby. So I think adding in a separate matchmaking system to match players that are using loner decks with other players that are core using loner decks, because it's just not a fair matchup. And then one thing that I found weird about the XYZ Festival as well was with the reward system. Even though yes, the XYZ Festival is extremely rewarding, isn't it weird how we get just regular legacy tickets when we win and not the XYZ tickets? I would assume that the tickets that we would get for winning in the XYZ Festival would only be the XYZ Summon tickets, but it's just the legacy ones, which I find a little off-putting. Since this is an XYZ Festival, why am I getting legacy pack tickets from winning? I feel like I should be rewarded with XYZ Festival tickets. Just makes sense in my head. And that's kind of all that I got. I really don't have too many issues with this event, and if events in the future are similar to this, then I think it's gonna be really good, especially if they're introducing their own unique ban list for each event to make it so everybody can have as much fun as possible. I think it's dope. And overall, like I said before, I enjoyed the event. I thought it was good. But please let me know down below in the comment section what you would change about the event. You already heard my suggestions, so I'd love to hear yours. If you enjoyed this video, I highly recommend you check out any of the highlight videos that I posted. Those videos, absolute bangers. Can't recommend them enough. Hey man, just click on one. I guarantee you'll find them entertaining. Oh, and before you leave, don't forget to drink water.